Hi, everybody. I know it's been a long day, but I want you to be encouraged. As you've been hearing from all these people, you want to be encouraged because, as we have all found out this morning, there are great resources, incredible doctors, incredible agencies that really want to help. The state agencies, MCB, I've been working with them for over 22 years. They're an amazing agency. And so be encouraged. And also, keep a sense of humor. Don't take things so seriously. So if I joke around, it's only because it's important to laugh, right? Right? Okay, good. So I'm involved with technology, but I want to talk a little bit about lighting because I've been doing this for over 22 years. But prior to doing this, I worked for a fiber optics lighting company, and the CEO of that company looked at me and said, I want you to become an expert on lighting for robotics. So I would go to Detroit and present papers to automotive engineers in terms of how to light very shiny objects. So 22 years ago, I get involved with low vision, and I realized that we don't pay enough attention to lighting. And I'm so grateful that lighting has been brought up this morning. It's so critically important. And very often people think that if you're visually impaired, what you need is a lot of lighting. That's not always the case. It's the controlled lighting. So an example I like to make, and today is a perfect day when you were outside, if you're visually impaired, it's a beautiful sunny day on the Cape, but it's terrible if you're visually impaired, right? Because the glare is just so awful. So if you went outside on an overcast day, the clouds would act as diffusers and would give you very even lighting. And so it's important to have controlled lighting. So I know that Dr. Salvo mentioned the importance of task lighting. That's very, very important because generally overhead lighting, if you're trying to do a task, will only give you about 12% of the lighting that you need. So having task lighting where you can actually angle the lighting towards what you're trying to look at is very, very important. Okay, so you can position the lights, and by having two lights on either side of the surface, you could actually reduce the shadows, and it will make lighting so much more important, better for you. The other thing that was talked about a lot was glare. You know, glare can be awful, and there are just some basic things that you could do around your home to minimize glare and reflection. For example, repositioning TVs and computers so that the light is not reflecting off the screen. Just some basic common sense things, but I go into a lot of homes where those things are not taken care of. Covering shiny surfaces. Place your task under a direct light source that will minimize reflections and reduce glare. Also, the importance of window treatments like blinds and shades so that you're reducing the ambient lighting, the harsh lighting coming into your room. And considering light uniformity. Very often I'm in people's homes where I see that going from one room to another room, there's tremendous variations in that lighting, and that could cause some issues. Safety. If you have to get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, it's important that your halls are lit properly and your bathroom is lit properly. So again, just some basic common sense things that I just like to leave with people so that when you go back to your home, you could sort of be a little more analytical about what needs to change in terms of your safety in your home environment. Contrast. Dr. Jamaro talked about contrast sensitivity and the sensitivity test that he did with everybody. Contrast is absolutely essential, especially if you're visually impaired. And it's the basic definition is the difference between dark and light, white and black. So think about that. For example, if you're eating a steak, it makes sense to eat a steak on a light plate so that you have good contrast. I don't know if everyone's a vegetarian out here, but you know, you never know. So always strive to maximize contrast. Okay, so I'm going to sort of move into adaptive technology. I am so blessed to do what I do with adaptive technology. I get to help people by providing the right tools to enable them to be independent, whether it's a senior or someone in a vocational situation. Recently, I worked with an attorney who is visually impaired, didn't realize that there were tools available to him which would enable him to read all these different cases that he had to look at. And he was just trying to memorize things and really struggling. And I came in and I showed him some of the options available, and it was a different world for him. He realized that he could continue to do his job. I get to see school students, the same type of thing. With the right tools, it can be very helpful. And for seniors, you're never too old to use technology. You know, my impairment is that I'm navigationally impaired. And if I didn't have GPS, everyone knows what GPS is, right? Global Positioning Systems. There's an app on my iPhone. It got me here. It's the worst thing in the world to be on the road every day and to be navigationally impaired, except the fact that I have great technology. So technology can really be helpful. So often I hear from people, you know, and they'll say, I don't know, I'm too old to consider technology. So a few years ago, I get a call from one of my customers. He was 104. And he called me up and he said, Stu, I'd like to see the latest flat screen video magnifiers. I like to call these devices video magnifiers. Sometimes people call them CCTVs, which stands for closed circuit TVs. But anyway, this gentleman, he's 104. He wanted to see the latest technology. I went up to see him in a retirement community. He said, you know what, I'm 104. I don't think so. I don't think I want to spend the money. So I went back to my office. I get a phone call 2 years later. He's 106. This is the truth. And so he said, I want get up here right away, and he wanted to buy it, and he did. So, you know, you're never too old. And technology can just be so awesome. So I have a magnifier up here because a magnifier can be quite beneficial depending on your level of visual impairment. The issue, however, is that as your vision gets worse, you need a more powerful magnifier. So let's say you start out with a 2x magnifier, fairly large field of view, okay, and works out okay, and then you move up to a 4x, and you keep moving up to a higher, maybe 10x. It keeps getting smaller and smaller. I don't have a magnifier here, but it keeps getting smaller and smaller, and you have more curvature, and the light reflecting back through the lens is reduced. It's called attenuation. So your contrast is sometimes worse as well. It's also magnifying the centermost area, which is, if you have macular degeneration, that's where your vision is the worst. So it can become a catch-22. Can be helpful, but you have to realize that there are trade-offs with every single piece of technology. So my whole thing is, you know, why good lighting and optical magnification alone may not be enough. The advantage to some of these electronic devices, again, video magnifiers, is the fact that we can vary the amount of magnification. So you can just turn a knob and make the magnification larger. You can vary the amount of contrast, and also they have different viewing modes. So you can look at something, for example, with a black background and white print, to really optimize your contrast and also reduce the brightness coming back at you. So that can be beneficial. And then you can have a large field of view. We can have a 24-inch screen. Sometimes people will say that's too big. It may be too big, you know, for your situation, but sometimes it might be the best device for you. I call my company AdaptiVision because the important thing to consider is, you know, we're all older and we all have to adapt in certain ways. And sometimes it's not going to be exactly like you would want it, like you would like to see Dr. Jamar, Dr. Salvo, and have them give you a pair of eyeglasses and just go on your merry way, right? But it doesn't work like that. So you have to make some trade-offs and understand what those trade-offs are. The last thing I have is OCR, optical character recognition. And some of these devices actually have optical character recognition built into it. This lady seems very attentive here. What's your name? I'm pointing at you. Yes? Okay, Sheila, could you come up here for a second? I just want to demonstrate how simple some of these devices are. So Sheila, I just want you to press this button right here, and then you can sit down. Excellent. You can sit. Let's give Sheila a round of applause. She did a great job. So Sheila just pressed this button on this. It's called the Clear Reader.
View. Growing old is mandatory. Growing up is optional. Forget the health food. I need all the preservatives I can get. You're getting old when you get the same sensation from a rocking chair that you once got from a roller coaster. One of the life's mysteries is how a 2-pound box of candy can make a person gain 5 pounds. My mind not only wonders, sometimes it leaves completely. I was put on earth to accomplish a certain number of things. Right now, I am so far behind, I will live forever. Time may be a great healer, but it's also a rotten beautician.
Okay, we'll pause it. But so basically what Sheila did was she just scanned this document. One of the really cool things is, although this technology can be sophisticated, it can be very simple to operate. So it's essentially pressing a button, it takes a picture of the document, and it reads it back to you. It can make life very easy for you, much easier. So this is the Clear Reader Plus. We have some other devices, like this, for example, is a portable device where we can vary the magnification. Let me just see what my next slide is here. Got an interesting word up here, technophobia. That's what hopefully we will try to cure you of, because you don't need to be a technophobic, because, again, technology can be awesome. So how many people here either use a computer or an iPad or a Kindle? Okay. I did, but I can't see it anymore. So there are some solutions, and the important thing is to be aware of what those solutions are. So for example, you could actually take a Kindle or an iPad, you can place it underneath a video magnifier. Also, what a lot of people don't realize, with computers, whether it's a PC or an Apple product, an iPad, there is built-in accessibility. So that, and this all happened, the other point I want to make is be advocates. Even here, if you see lighting issues, let people know. If you're in the community, you see problems, either in a restaurants can be awful, right? Ambiance, but terrible lighting, you can't see the menu. So let people know what those issues are. The reason why there's built-in accessibility with PCs and Apple products is that the American Foundation for the Blind and the National Foundation for the Blind basically went to see Microsoft and Apple and said, if you don't make some accommodations for us in these computer products, we're going to sue you. And so they made accommodations, you know? So be advocates for things that you're aware of that can be helpful to you. So hopefully you'll get rid of any technophobia that you might have. There's also great resources. You know, we heard from Carla. There's people that want to help you. I'm sure there's people at Thurwood Place that can help with computers, right, Larry? So that's great. The other thing I just want to point out is I've been to lots of retirement communities, and what they do here at Thurwood Place, unfortunately, is not duplicated anywhere else. And so this is fantastic in terms of having these resources and speakers so that you can find out what's available. What I have here is software for a computer. It's called ZoomText. Sometimes the built-in accessibility software in a computer program is not adequate, so there are third-party programs. And I have some demos. It's actually a 60-day demo if anyone would like to try ZoomText. And there's a new program that they now have. The manufacturers of ZoomText, which is called Fusion, which also acts as a screen reader, which is comparable to what Carla talked about with the JAWS program. So this is a video magnifier, and it will, again, magnify what's on the computer by turning a knob, but it also has the optical character recognition. When it scans a document, it gives you a number of different zones. So that lady is going to tap on the number 1, and it will read that area of the document that she wants to read. And I have all these products in the resource room so that you can actually see these in action. And this is the ClearReader Plus, the one that we just demoed, that will read a document to you. This product is the Traveler HD. What's really cool about this one is it has a 13-inch screen, and it weighs 4 pounds. I'm so grateful as I've gotten older, these devices have gotten a lot lighter. Years ago, when I was started doing this, I used to carry around a product called the Aladdin. It had a smaller screen, and it weighed over 40 pounds. And so now we have a 13.3-inch screen, and it weighs 4 pounds, which is pretty amazing. And that's it. Thank you so much. And yet, the important thing is I want everyone to access the technology in the other room, to really check it out. Thank you.